You are now listening to the Project Kuwait. Where we stop at nothing to bring you the right facts on health, fitness, and psychology. Featuring some of the world's most experienced professionals. So you can learn, live, and live. With your hosts, Meg, Dr. D, and Mehdi. Hey everybody, welcome to this episode. I get to sit and talk to Dr. Travis Zigler, who is an eye specialist. And we dive down the rabbit hole of not only eye health, but health in general. Talks about toxins, what it's doing to your body, and what you can do to have better health in general.
One of the biggest misconceptions is in your 40s, you start to lose your ability to read and see up close. And that's actually the number one cause of blindness in the world. Glaucoma is known as the silent blinder because you don't know you have glaucoma until it's too late.
So stay tuned, enjoy this episode, and please don't forget to leave us a rating and review. All this and more in today's episode. Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of The Project. And in this episode, we are sitting down with a dry eye guru, Dr. Travis Zigler. And hopefully we're going to learn a little bit about eye health today. Dr. Zigler, thanks for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. If you can introduce yourself a little bit better, you are the president of the I Love Cares Foundation. And I'm sure you have a lot more there. So I think you could do a better job at introducing yourself than me.
First of all, thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate you inviting me on. My wife and I are both eye doctors, and we're both optometrists. We graduated in 2010 and 2011. We practiced for about 7 years after that. And in that same time, we started an online company called I Love. And I Love is a dry eye focused company. Our best-selling product is called the Hydrate Lid and Lash Cleanser. And our mission in I Love is to help 1 million dry eye sufferers heal their dry eye naturally. That means without the use of medications or antibiotics or anything like that. We teach you how to heal your body naturally from the inside out and reduce inflammation. And so we're actually not just healing dry eye, we're healing your whole body as well. Then we donate a portion of our profits to the I Love Cares Foundation, which we started. The I Love Cares Foundation, there's over 1 billion people that are blind just due to lack of glasses in the world. And so our mission is to help eradicate that. And it's a little bigger number than the 1 million dry eye sufferers, but third world countries just don't have access to eye care. And so we go to these third world countries, we provide eye exams and we provide glasses for them. Usually in about a week's time, we can do about 2,000 to 3,000 eye exams, but we're trying to create more sustainability. And we focus those efforts in Jamaica and in the Caribbean.
Oh, it's amazing. So you guys usually go down to Jamaica and the Caribbean and stuff. Have you been out to Africa at all?
We have not been to Africa. We've done South America and Central America and Mexico. But then Caribbean is our summer and fall focus.
Yeah.
And then in the spring, we do South and Central America.
Oh, that's amazing that you guys get to travel around. And what's the world like when it comes to eye health? I mean, what is eye health? How could we categorize it for the average Joe who thinks, oh, if I have dry eyes, it's all right, or this is normal? What is normal? What's abnormal for people? I know it's a broad question.
Everything's abnormal. So you shouldn't feel your eyes. So I think one of the biggest misconceptions is in your 40s, you start to lose your ability to read and see up close. And that's actually the number one cause of blindness in the world is the inability to read and see up close. And so a simple pair of reading glasses that here in America, we can just go buy in the store for $1 and put them on. A lot of people don't have access to that pair of reading glasses. So they think they're going blind. They can no longer read their Bible. They can no longer work. So you can think of the example I give all the time is a fisherman. So a fisherman can't line his hook anymore because he can no longer see up close. And so blindness, a lot of people think that's like permanent blindness, such as glaucoma or macular degeneration, which those are eye diseases. But the inability to see your up close vision is a very normal process. It's where the lens inside our eye isn't able to focus as well as it used to be able to. And that's the number one cause of blindness in the world, and it's preventable. And so that's completely normal. That's not abnormal. But if your eyes are feeling dry, or you're starting to lose vision, then you need to get it checked out right away because that could be something else that's going on. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. It's an interesting thing. I mean, you brought up glaucoma, and I always got to throw in some baseball here. And Tony Gwynn, I think it was Tony Gwynn, Tony Gwynn, he was a famous baseball player, got glaucoma, and I think he went blind in one eye. So how does that all happen with glaucoma? I mean, what's that all about?
Yeah, glaucoma is, so hypertension or high blood pressure is known as the silent killer, meaning that you could have high blood pressure and then all of a sudden one day you have a stroke or a massive heart attack and you're dead.
Yeah.
So it's known as the silent killer because you don't know you have it and then it kills you. Glaucoma is known as the silent blinder because you don't know you have glaucoma until it's too late. So glaucoma, what it does is it's damage to the back of your eye, to the nerve. The nerve communicates what your eye sees and communicates it back to your brain. And so what happens is when that nerve starts to become damaged, usually due to the increase in pressure of your eye. So if your eye is a globe, and so if you have this globe, you have pressure in it to keep it inflated, essentially. If that pressure becomes too much, it has nowhere to go. So it starts to damage the back of the eye where that nerve is. And so where that nerve is, if it starts to be damaged, you can't connect to the brain anymore. And so how that appears in our vision is it takes your vision out here in the periphery first, out in the outside, and then it slowly closes in to form tunnel vision and eventually just takes your vision away completely. By the time you notice vision loss, it's too late. And so we can't reverse that damage that's already been done. And so it's damage to a nerve, and we don't know how to reverse nerve damage yet. That's why people become paralyzed and they can't recover from it because that nerve is damaged and it's already gone. So high blood pressure is known as the silent killer. Glaucoma is known as the silent blinder. The best way to prevent glaucoma is to have a yearly eye exam, because if you're at risk, an optometrist can find that, or an ophthalmologist can find that and monitor you closely, or even put you on drops to help lower that pressure if needed. So Tony Gwynn, I don't know his exact case, but glaucoma usually tends to happen over a long period of time. And usually when people go blind over that long period of time, it's because they haven't had an eye exam. Now, there is acute glaucoma or like rapid glaucoma that can take your vision pretty much overnight. That's very rare, but that happens when our eye, remember we talked about that globe? Fluid is pumped into it and fluid is pumped out of it all the time. And so you can think of it like the fluid pumping out is like a drain in a sink. If that drain gets clogged, it will cause the fluid to increase rapidly to the point that it can cause damage very, very quickly. But that is very painful, and you'll notice that.
Are there any signs that we can look for besides going to an eye doctor? Like, are there, certain symptoms that we should kind of watch out for, as the average, normal person? Like, if we can't see it or we can't understand it, then how can we kind of find it before an eye exam, or kind of what can we do?
Yeah, the best thing is you have to have an eye exam. So the more acute stage glaucoma, the one that's faster onset, that's going to be painful. That's going to be something that a trauma to the eye can occur, and that can cause that kind of rapid onset glaucoma. But the more chronic, the long-term glaucoma that affects most people, you just have to have your eyes checked every year. And so that's the easiest way to spot that early. And then if you're like African descent tends to be a higher risk. If you're Asian, that tends to be higher risk as well. If you're Caucasian or white, that tends to be higher risk for something called macular degeneration. And so just depending on your race, that puts you at a higher risk as well. So the easiest way to have it is just have your yearly eye exam. Even if you're healthy or appear to be healthy, it's best to just get it checked out yearly.
Oh, wow. Wow. That kind of freaks me out. I mean, over here.
Are you long overdue?
No, I actually had an eye exam last year, but I can't say it was a great eye exam. I mean, I think this goes for everywhere in the world. We have some of the best doctors in the world in Kuwait, and we have some of the worst doctors in the world. So, it's really difficult at the end of the day to find a good doctor. I mean, I'm not just pinpointing on Kuwait here, but also in the United States. I had one doctor say, "Oh, your vision's fine." And then I had someone else say, "No, you need a prescription. You need this, you need that." And I was walking around with glasses. I didn't even need them for, about 3 months. So what are some keys that we can look for with a good eye doctor?
So the one thing that is very common is that even if you have a prescription, doesn't mean you need glasses. So a lot of people think that if you need a prescription, if you're nearsighted or farsighted, and you, for example, somebody obviously diagnosed you with having nearsightedness or astigmatism or something like that and prescribed you a pair of glasses, but you're like, I don't really need these. And so glasses aren't really to heal a disease per se. It's just to help correct a problem that you have. And so I can't see far away. I'm nearsighted. So the glasses are going to help me see far away better. But that's all subjective. So I'm a -1. And so what that means is everything within a meter and closer is perfect for me. Everything beyond a meter gets a little blurry, but it doesn't bother me enough. I don't like to wear glasses, and my eyes they feel more relaxed. Every time I put my glasses on, I'm like, wow, HD vision, it's great. So a common misconception with glasses is that they are 100% required, and they're not. It all depends on your prescription again, but it's mostly there to help you with a problem that you have. And so you're not going to cause harm to your eyes if you don't wear your glasses. So that's a common misconception is people think that if I don't wear my glasses all the time, then I'm going to harm my eyes. That's not the case.
I need you to talk to my wife, man. I definitely need you to talk to my wife because she's like, no, DJ has to have his glasses on all the time. And I'm like, but there's got to be some give to it. Like not having your glasses on has got to be good at some point too, right? Or is it, is that a misconception? Because, I mean, that's a great misconception that you brought up that you always have to have them on. Having them off sometimes, is that a good thing or is it not?
I want to retract what I said just a little bit. There are certain prescriptions that are out there that you should be wearing your glasses all the time because you'll have less headaches. That's more of a farsighted patient.
Okay. All right.
And then for kids, especially if kids get diagnosed and they need glasses, they usually want to wear those all the time because their brains are still developing. And so the brain is still establishing that connection with the eye up to the age of 18. And so if one eye is blurry versus the other, then what will happen is the brain will ignore the blurry eye and only connect with the good eye. And therefore that eye could be damaged permanently. So there are unique situations where glasses should be worn all the time. So just listening to your eye doctor. But if you're nearsighted in both eyes, like I am, then I actually am more relaxed when I'm reading it on a computer without my glasses because I'm not focusing as hard. And so there are situations that you don't want to wear your glasses all the time. And you might want to take them off if you're nearsighted and you're reading because your eyes will be more relaxed.
Oh, all right. That's interesting because my son's farsighted and his prescription is pretty heavy. He's, I think, a 6.5.
That is a case full time.
Well, yeah. I mean, he's a 6.5 in one eye and a 7 in the other eye. And the fear was putting him in the patch. His doctor was like, look, let's give it a little while. He upped his prescription in the eye that wasn't working properly. And it solved the problem. He's seeing better out of it. So we're keeping our fingers crossed till I think December, his next checkup, to hopefully.
So your son is the perfect example of somebody that does need to wear their prescription all the time because just what I was just talking about. So if he stopped wearing them, that eye with the higher prescription, the brain would start ignoring it and he would never be correctable to 20/20 again if he goes past the age of 18, usually. So with that, him wearing the glasses all the time will just help his brain develop both eyes. And so what you're doing is you're actually putting the patch on the better seeing eye. And what that does is it forces the brain to connect with the worse seeing eye.
Yeah.
Now, something that's very helpful with children. How old's your son?
He's 5.5 right now. He's been in glasses since he was about 2.5. So, I mean, he was given
and he's probably had that prescription since birth.
Yeah. Actually, it's gone up. At first, we thought it would, stay. It was 5.5 and 4. And his doctor was like, look, it's probably going to go up till he hits the age about 5 or 6. And then after that, it should start tapering down the older he gets. And I read about farsightedness that some kids outgrow farsightedness, but he was like, with your son's case, it's definitely not going to happen. He was like, hopefully you can pray for it to get better, but most likely it could creep up to a 9, a 10, or an 11. So, I mean,
and a great option for him is contact lenses. So maybe not quite as young. I've done as young as 5-year-olds with contacts, but we do daily disposables. So they put them in the morning, they throw them away when you're done at night, keeps them clean, especially at a young age like that. I rarely do a 5-year-old, but I've done maybe 3 in my career. And usually I start contact lenses around 7 or 8. It all depends on the maturity of the kid. Usually daughters tend to be better than sons.
That's
as you know, you have a son, I have a son. So it's just all about hygiene. And that's why we do dailies with them.
Yeah, no, I can imagine how difficult it is. I would not want to try putting contact lenses in my son. It is not happening. And he's great about his glasses. It was heartwarming. As soon as we put his glasses on him, he just looked at his stuffed animals and he was like, wow. And it was like, as a parent, it's a bittersweet moment because like, you break out in tears, like, how could I not know this? And he had a nose infection. That's how we found out, which was the funny thing. We had no clue. He had a sinus infection. They did the drops. And then his doctor was like, wait a minute, hold on. We need to do the eye drops. And he was like, look, he needs glasses. And I was like, oh, shoot. Wow. So we kind of lucked out with that. So let's move on to like the athlete part of it. Some of the, the sports questions and the athlete questions. What can athletes do to better their vision and adhere to better eye health I mean, we always talk about health of the body, health of what you're putting in your body and doing for your body. What can we do for our eyes? Because obviously it's very important in our movement, seeing all planes. If you're a football player or a basketball player or a baseball player, I did a little bit of eye training, a few years ago, just because I was telling the kids on my team that this is something they should look into. So I tried it myself. It was complicated as hell, never understood it. But what can you say to that?
Well, you nailed one on what you put in your body is so important for eye health. And so I'm drinking my green smoothie right now. Cheers. This is the first thing I put in my body every day. Spinach, leafy green vegetables is going to help increase the health of your macula. The macula of your eye is where all light is focused. That's your 2020 or 2015 vision. That's your really sharp vision. And so the more pigment density you have in that macula, the better your vision is going to be, especially at nighttime. And so if you're playing a sport at night, if you have more pigment density, that's just going to give you better vision, and it's going to just lead to a healthier eye. So you get that through leafy green vegetables. And so eating a lot of leafy green vegetables is going to help with your athletics. Another thing that you were talking about is what's called sports vision, and sports vision therapy. So with eyes or with sports, everything is a saccade, meaning that we're just constantly darting our eyes back and forth to follow a ball or to follow something. And so if you do some sports vision therapy, find a sports vision therapist near you. You can YouTube it and see some activities that you can do. This is just teaching your eyes to do saccades better, to follow a ball and to pursue something better, also called pursuits. And so when you're pursuing a ball or you're jumping back and forth, sometimes what happens is when your eyes go back and forth, one can lead the other faster. And you don't notice it, but I can notice if I do an exam on you. And then some people do it perfectly in sync together. And so if your eyes are out of sync at all, that's going to cause your coordination to be off. And so when you're going to catch a ball and one eye's ahead of the other, you're going to miss it most of the time. But if your eyes work perfectly in parallel, then you're going to be able to do it really well. So to give you an example, one of the best NFL receivers of the most recent era is Larry Fitzgerald. Larry Fitzgerald has been known to have some of the best ball catching skills because he can track a ball really well. He grew up with his uncle, I believe, and his uncle was an optometrist who did sports vision therapy. And so he grew up his entire life doing sports vision therapy, which is why his hand-eye coordination is probably better than any receiver that's out there right now. And he's 40 years old now, and he's still catching balls like a 20-year-old. And that's because he always worked on that hand-eye coordination. And so if you want to take your athletics to the next level and you play a sport like baseball, basketball, football, or any sport for that matter, with a sports vision therapist to really learn that hand-eye coordination even better and just making sure that your eyes track together, because there's a lot of things that can happen to your eyes where you may think your kid's uncoordinated, but it could be just that his eyes aren't tracking together. And so when we use our eyes together, that gives us binocular vision. Binocular vision is just simply 3D vision. And so what I want your viewers to do is put a cup on the table and grab the cup. And then put the cup right back down to where it was, cover one of your eyes, and then go try to grab the cup again and see what happens. I guarantee that you'll kind of whiff it. And that's because you don't have that binocular vision, that depth perception. And that's what binocularity gives you, the two eyes working together. And if your eyes work together really well, that's how hand-eye coordination works. And that's how you can get even better at athletics with your eyes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally makes sense. You just blew my mind away. I was doing it all wrong my whole life. No wonder why I sucked at baseball. Couldn't hit a curveball, save my life. So
baseball's huge with it because you're tracking a 90 mile per hour ball coming at you from the side. And so when you're looking off the side, if you don't completely turn your head, you can actually be blocking one of your eyes. And so you're only using one eye at the time. And so baseball's huge. Tennis is huge because you have balls coming at you so fast that to be able to swing a racket to hit it, I mean, there's so much that has to go right, or swing a baseball bat to hit it. There's a lot that has to go right. So I'm not a baseball fan myself, but the coordination required and the athletic ability that it requires makes me respect baseball players at a whole different level than let's say a football player or a basketball player. But everything takes its own level of coordination, but baseball's at just a whole new level.
I mean, my old coach, Franny, he used to have a different vision test for us. He would have balls with a red or a yellow or a green dot, throw them, probably coming in about 50, 60 miles an hour. And the goal was to spot the dot on the ball or to call out the color as you're hitting it. And at the beginning it was hard, but then your eyes and just your brain just kind of just gets trained to pick it up that much faster, which is pretty cool.
The next level to that trick is actually you take colored marker and you write a number. And so when I'm throwing these balls at you, you have to say the color and the number. So that's kind of the level up of that game.
Yeah, you got to be in the M.
That's a sports vision. That's a sports vision thing.
That's when you're in the pro level. I mean, I can imagine. Now, speaking of pros, you hear about this all the time. And just out of curiosity, do pros get LASIK done a lot to improve their vision even further? It's a rumor that's been surfaced, in different colleges and at a pro level in the United States especially. Is that common practice? Does it really happen, or is it just a rumor?
So I'm a dry eye specialist, and LASIK is known to cause dry eye. I'm not for LASIK. I'm not heavily against it. But if you're asking a dry eye specialist whether you should get LASIK or not, I'm always going to tell you no, just because of that side effect from dry eye. Because I see the patients that have dry eye from LASIK and it's not fun. So with that being said, most likely they get dry eye or they get LASIK because they don't want to either deal with contacts anymore or they don't want to deal with glasses anymore. And the nice thing is, so when you have glasses on, the lens is actually sitting off of your eyes. And so literally, because the glasses are sitting on your nose. And so there's about 10 millimeters between the lens of your glasses and your eye. That actually changes your vision because it's outside of your eye. When you put a contact lens on your eye, it's on your eye. So your vision is actually going to be more natural. And so let's say I'm nearsighted and I have glasses on, everything in my world appears a little smaller than if I have contacts on. Very normal. This is just kind of optics 101 that you learn in optometry school. So that athlete probably has trouble with their contact lenses and just wants to get rid of them. And so getting corrected on the eye itself, hence LASIK, allows you to correct your vision right where it most naturally feels to be corrected, if that makes sense. And so your world appears normal. And so I'm guessing it's more of a convenience thing. It's not necessarily see better because you can see better with contacts.
Okay.
But contacts can get dislodged. So if you're, let's say, a NASCAR driver or IndyCar driver or Formula One driver, the speed of that can maybe dislodge a contact lens, the G forces, the gravity. If you're a skydiver, you don't want to be wearing contact lenses. And if you're in the Marines, let's say, or the Marines, just the Army in general, or the armed forces in general, you don't want to be in the middle of a battlefield and get your contact lenses dislodged because that can be life or death. And so that's why military tends to put people through PRK or LASIK to have that done so they don't have to worry about them when they're out in the field, losing a contact lens or running out of contact lenses or their glasses breaking. And so there's reasons to have it done. For athletes, it's probably just a convenience thing and the vision being corrected on the eye itself that just helps.
All right. That's a whole, that's a lot. Now let's shift to the dry eye part. Hey, let's go in your wheelhouse. I mean, we have a lot of gym buffs that listen to the show, CrossFitters. Yeah, we got a lot of CrossFitters, bodybuilders, boot campers, you name it. We have a lot of people that listen to the show that come from different modalities of training. And what are some of the things that we can do in the gym to better our eye health? I mean, personally, I get chalk in my eyes all the time and my eyes get dry, they get itchy. What are some of the little things that we can do to kind of better our eye health and take care of it a little bit more while we're in the gym or, after we leave?
So the best thing you can do is, not all your listeners are not going to like this answer, but wear eye protection. This is just my nerdy eye doctor talking right now.
Really?
Because you never know what's going to happen in the gym, especially with, I don't want to say aggressive. What am I looking for? How just fast CrossFit is and boot camps are. You never know if you're going to get hit or something. It's very similar to basketball. You see basketball players get hit in the eye all the time. They lose their contact lenses. They break their orbital bone, which is right down here below the eye socket. Amari Stoudemire, his retina was detached about 5 to 10 years ago. I don't remember. Can't keep track of time anymore. But his career was almost ruined from getting hit in the eye. So eye protection is one of the biggest things you can do. Now, going back to dry eye, you're getting dry eye just from the dust. I mean, that's normal. That's not going to cause harm to your eyes. But the best thing your CrossFitters can do, your boot campers can do is what you're doing. You're staying healthy. And so health internally is going to lead to better eye health as well. So eating healthy, being healthy in the gym, avoiding fad diets, and just consistently sticking with a plant-rich diet that's high in healthy fats like coconut oils and olive oils and avocado oils, and making sure it's organic if you can, and then staying away from the bad fats because I know CrossFitters and boot campers tend to be more keto based, more that based. So just making sure you do keto correctly because keto can be done wrong.
True.
Keto can be done
100%.
with people think that Atkins diet is healthy and it's not. Meat and cheese isn't healthy. Meat and
Definitely
cheese
not.
in moderation is okay. But if you're going to do keto, make sure it's plant rich still and make sure it's healthy in the healthy fats like organic coconut oil, organic olive oil, and organic avocado oil. And so that's kind of a couple things. Going back to the gym though, eye protection and just staying healthy is the best thing you can do, and what your listeners are probably doing already.
Yeah, I mean, well, majority of them. But all right, let's go to diet a little bit. You brought up a good point. So, would you say, what about meat lovers? Because I'm like your typical T-bone steak. Like eat meat four times a week. I can't handle chicken anymore for some reason. It just doesn't sit. Chicken just does not sit well, and I force feed myself with fish. So, what about meats in terms of vision? Does that do anything? You brought up more of a vegan slash plant-based diet. So can you get into that a little bit?
So you said you eat meat 4 times a week.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
That's not that bad. So that's we recommend a plant-rich diet just because everything in plants is great for your eyes. We talked about leafy green vegetables. You've heard spinach, kale is great for your eyes because it has things like lutein, zeaxanthin, and iron. Things like that are great for your eyes. Now, as far as meats, omega-3 fatty acids are great for your eyes. So you can get that through a fish oil supplement. You can get that from wild caught salmon, just making sure it's wild caught. And then going back to beef, or I'm guessing you eat a lot of red meat, the
100%,
4 times a
man.
week.
100%. It's all beef for me.
So just making sure it's pasture raised, organic if you can. That's going to be key because you're just going to get more omega benefits from that, omega fatty acid benefits. And if you eat more of like the factory farmed meats, you're going to get higher omega 6, unhealthy omega 6s. And so that's going to cause more inflammation in your body versus the pasture raised red meats that are going to have healthier omega 6s, healthier omega 3s. Just think if you have a healthier cow, you're going to have a healthier you because it all gets passed down. So a pasture raised cow is eating its natural environment, which is grass out in the pasture, and it's eating it like it's supposed to. A factory farmed is going to be force fed corn or some kind of feed. And that feed isn't going to be natural for its body. Therefore, the cow is going to be unhealthy. And then they're gonna butcher it, and then you're going to eat it. And then you're going to be unhealthy and get the inflammation that the cow is living with. And so same thing with chickens and eggs. So pasture raised eggs are going to be better than the factory farmed eggs. Chicken, if you've had trouble with chicken, it might be because you're eating traditional farm raised chicken versus pasture raised chicken. And then same thing goes with wild caught versus farm raised salmon. That's actually one of the easiest ways to tell whether it's farm or wild. With salmon, salmon that's wild caught is very, very pink. Farm raised salmon is very, very orange. And so that's how you can tell between the two. But wild caught salmon is going to have healthier omega 3s, whereas in farm raised isn't going to have that much. So taking a supplement for omega 3s as well is going to help with that. But with meat is not necessarily bad. It's just you got to choose which meats to eat. And I eat meat probably once a week, but at home I'm a vegan that's gluten free and dairy free. And so my diet is very strict at home, but I live in Austin, Texas, and there's amazing barbecue around here. So once a week I splurge. You have
Yeah.
to live a little bit in this world. And I like a good beer. So I'll go out and have a beer, even though I'm gluten free because I have a high gluten intolerance. Not lactose, sorry. Not like a gluten allergy like celiacs, but just like a gluten sensitivity that's 4+. So if I eat gluten too much, I get eczema really bad. I get arthritis, and I'm only 35. And so that flares up if I eat gluten too much, but once a week isn't going to hurt. So just making sure you're sticking to wild caught seafood and then pasture raised meat is going to be your best bet. And then eating a rich diet, a plant rich diet that's green leafy vegetables with healthy, like organic fats, like we talked about earlier, olive oil, coconut oil, and avocado oil.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought some of that up because, we've always said it on here, you have to source your food properly. And here, I mean, we don't have the luxury that you guys have in the United States of, getting grass-fed beef, pasteurized. You guys get like the cream of the crop when it comes to organic. We get like the bottom of the totem pole of organic, and I mean, I typically get my meat from a really good source. That's why I think my body just reacts better when I eat beef from this source. Their cows, it's organic and everything. So for me, and I can taste the difference now between grass fed, grain fed. You know what I mean? Like the meat's a little sweeter when they're corn fed. You can tell.
100% better.
And it's just like, it's such a good point. Now, if we have a crappy diet, that will affect our eye health, correct? Now, is there a way to reverse the negative effects that we've had on our eye health? Like, for instance, I mean, I'm sure there are things that we do that are unhealthy for our eyes. Is there a way to reverse that? Or is it once the damage is done, that's it, it's done?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And the first thing to really realize it, and the key part is don't beat yourself up. So you don't want to beat yourself up over the past things that you've done because you didn't know any better. And it's the fault of the governments that we have, because we're not going to talk about politics, don't worry. But the government has...
You can get into U.S. politics. Just don't talk about the Middle East.
All right, we're good then.
You could get into the U.S. politics. That is totally fine. You could definitely go down that rabbit hole.
Back in the 80s and 90s, we had this food pyramid, and at the bottom of it was wheat and bread and pasta. And those are possibly the worst things that you can eat for yourself. And so you were educated poorly by our own government. And that's a problem, because people still think that breads are healthy and, pastas are healthy, and they can be if they're made properly. But the factories got a hold of them, the big food companies got a hold of them, and they made them unhealthy. They made them highly processed. And now you don't even get the health benefits of what you're supposedly eating. So I always recommend staying away from all that stuff. But to reverse the damage that's been done, you can, of course, do that. That's what plants are for. So you can think of cancer. Cancer is an abnormal growth of cells, and we can reverse cancer by getting chemotherapy, by eating healthier, by doing things like that. And so that will shrink that cell back down, hopefully eliminate it or surgically remove it. But you can shrink cancer cells down. Our body is constantly in a state of cancer. All of us, you, me, we have cancer right now. And so that's not to scare you, but our body's made to fight cancer. And so you can give it the tools to fight these problems, fight the inflammation, fight the cancer cells in your body, fight the problems that you're having, or you can give them the tools to enhance the cancer or to increase the inflammation. And so every choice you make from this day forward will either take you towards health or away from health. And so you can choose to drink that green smoothie for breakfast. This is our number one step for dry eye management, is replace your breakfast with a green smoothie. And the reason we do that is because breakfast foods tend to move you towards the inflammatory cancer-causing area. So think about it: waffles, pancakes, cereal, bread, bagels, sausage, bacon, all that stuff is bad for you, and it's inflammatory, cancer-causing. Now, if we replace that breakfast with a green smoothie, plant-rich vegetables, so spinach or kale, then we have some coconut in there, and we have some dairy-free milk, and then we also put flaxseed, ground flaxseed in it. And then what else did I put in this one? Blueberries, antioxidants, high. And so those are all going to fight cancer. They're going to put your body in more of an alkaline state versus an acidic state. So acid versus base. Acid is cancer causing, inflammatory causing. Basic is eating a lot of plants, cancer fighting, decreasing inflammation, making you feel healthier. And so when we replace green smoothie we replace your breakfast with a green smoothie, that's just going to help fight all that inflammation. So can you reverse it? Long answer, or short answer is yes. And so you can just start to fight the inflammation back down. But so most of our patients that come to us and most of our clients that come to us, they're usually 61-year-old females, or give or take 10 years. And so they've hit menopause, they've gone through all the hot flash fluctuations, they're having a lot of problems. And they expect the green smoothie to be magic, and it is, after about 2 weeks. So it takes you about 2 weeks to get into that cycle of eating healthier. But we do that first because that gives you the biggest impact. But you're 60 years old. You've been causing inflammation in your body for the last 20 to 30 to 40 years, it's not going to go away overnight. And so we have to really coach them to stick with our plan. We have an 8-week boot camp called the Dry Eye Boot Camp Challenge. And it's all about making healthier lifestyle choices. 1 week at a time, we give them a new lifestyle choice to make. And it's very simple, but it's not easy. And as you build upon these, after the 8 weeks, they're feeling well enough. They're incentivized to keep going because they feel so good. But it's not going to go away overnight. It's going to take years to get that inflammation back down, to get your body processing like it should be. I've been eating this way since like 2012, so 8 years. And if I eat something like a donut now, it doesn't bother me like it would have in the past. Like in the past, it used to make me just extremely tired. It used to give me a stomach ache. Now I eat a donut, it just goes right through me because I eat so healthy 90% of the time. Or if I go out and have a drink, that one may give me a little bit of headache, but it's not that bad. So can you reverse it? Of course you can. So I would definitely recommend that, it's never too late to start trying and to just make the decision now to eat a healthier life or to lead a healthier life and eat healthier.
That's awesome. And I think now I'm more interested. What's your boot camp like? And is that based where you guys are, or can people join that online? Is there a protocol for people to jump in online? Because we have a ton of international listeners. We have listeners based in the United States also. So what's that all about?
Yeah, so it's all online. So it's not based locally at all. So it's an 8-week boot camp. It's actually 9 weeks now, where we give you a new challenge every single week. And that new challenge is essentially like the first week is, so it's focused towards dry eye, but you can literally replace dry eye with any disease out there. So it could be called the diabetic boot camp challenge, the high blood pressure boot camp challenge. And it just teaches you how to reverse inflammation in your body, which will then reverse all these diseases and decrease them. So of course, I always work with a practitioner. That's always best. But like the first week, we teach eyelid hygiene because we're based towards dry eye. And also in the first week, we teach mindset because your mindset is half the battle. If you don't have the correct mindset going into this, then you're going to lose. And so then the second week is the green smoothies, like we talked about. Third week is just hydration, drinking more water. 80% of us around the world are dehydrated because we don't drink enough water. We talk about stress. Stress is a whole week because we teach you how to decrease the stress in your body because stress is so, I'm going to give you an example of stress. So we had 4 big events happen to us since November of last year. And it wasn't small events either. And then the 4th one was we moved to Austin, Texas from Ohio, which for your listeners, that's about a 1,500-mile move. And my son's school was supposed to open 6 weeks ago and it hasn't opened yet. So we're trying to run our businesses. We work from home and our toddler son's running around. And so it came to a head last Wednesday and I got shingles.
Oh,
and
wow.
I'm 35 years old. Shingles doesn't happen to 35-year-olds unless they're under a lot of stress.
Yeah, it's
shingles is essentially,
yeah.
It's chickenpox that kind of comes out later in life because everybody that's had chickenpox has the virus that causes shingles. It's just a matter if your immune system's down low enough, it will pop back out. And so my immune system was compromised enough from stress that shingles came out. So stress is a huge part of our lives and disease. We then teach you how to sleep better. So we hack your sleep. We then teach you how to detox your life. So there's a lot of toxins in your house, and we teach you kind of the top 10 toxins and how to replace them. So an example would be dryer sheets. Everybody uses dryer sheets, and dryer sheets are incredibly toxic. They're just filled with chemicals. And so we replace that with wool balls, little sheep wool balls.
With what?
They last. What's that?
They're wool balls? Like, what is this?
Wool balls.
I don't know. We're in
Think
Kuwait. We might have camel balls, but I mean,
same thing. So
right.
they're a little compacted. They look like baseballs.
Okay.
And so they look like baseballs, but they're just compacted wool, and you put them in your dryer, and that helps do the same thing that dryer sheets do. Now, 5 wool balls, we've had the same ones for 8 years. And so you buy them once and you never have to replace them because they just last forever. If you want more scent in your laundry, you put an essential oil drop on them, and that will give you more scent. So like you can do lavender for your sheets to help you sleep better. And so we just teach you how to hack your house so you're not living in a toxic household environment. So like all the cleaning agents around your house are toxic. If you just replaced it with vinegar, you'd be fine. Vinegar's edible, and you don't have to worry about your kid getting into it, and you can clean everything with vinegar.
That's what my mother-in-law does. She's always like, you should just use vinegar. I'm like, I'm still with that mentality of I'll use the Dettol or whatever. But yeah, That's a pretty damn good
Bleach.
hack. I'm going to start listening to you, man. And if she sees me using vinegar, she's going to be like, see, I told you something. Like, nah, Dr. Zigler told me. So, but what else?
The rule of three is when you hear it 3 times.
What else does your boot camp offer? I mean, all right, so you've hit on the sleep, you've hit on the nutrition, you've hit on the household products. What about in terms of, let's talk about exercise a little bit or movement? What do you go through in the movement aspect?
So remember, our target market is 61-year-old females. So we try to limit it to stuff that's very doable at the beginning. And then week 8, I think, is exercise. And so we really talk them through, like, you don't have to go out and run a half marathon tomorrow. You have to just go out and walk to your mailbox and back. And if that was enough exercise for you, that's a start. And then next week, you're going to walk to the end of the block and back. And then the next week, you're going to walk around your block. And you do that every single day. And then you just push yourself a little further every single day until you're walking 30 minutes a day. And then once you start walking 30 minutes a day, maybe throw in a jog. And so these are people that they haven't thought about fitness for the last 10 years. Some people have, but this is just getting them back up to exercising more and just moving, because movement is so key. And as your listeners know, I mean, how good do you feel after a CrossFit workout or a boot camp workout? You're not just getting the fitness part of it, you're getting the camaraderie with it too. So you're getting your social boost, you're getting your exercise boost. So you're getting kind of 2 things there. You're getting a huge endorphin kick and a dopamine kick. And so exercise is just key, but we save that to the last week only because it's harder for most people to think about exercise because it takes time. So replacing your breakfast, you're already eating breakfast, so just replace it with something. We also talk, 1 week is all about taking foods away. And so taking away the alcoholic beverage every day that you have, donuts, cookies, cakes, chips, all that stuff, and save it for 1 day of the week. That's all you got to do. Is just save it for that 1 day of the week that you can just have some fun and go eat a box of donuts or go eat a bag of chips and go have a couple beers, have a little fun 1 day a week. Some people say just 1 cheat meal. I recommend a whole day. Just have fun. But what you'll notice is once you start living this lifestyle, that 1 cheat day, you'll limit it to 1 meal. And then you may even eliminate it altogether because you know how you feel afterwards. And so we used to charge for the Dry Eye Bootcamp Challenge. We're actually thinking about releasing it for free just because the people that have gone through it, we've had about close to probably 300 to 400 people go through it now. And the results have been amazing. And we get the same feedback afterwards is you need to get this to more people because this changed my life. And the cool part about it was that we go into it targeting dry eye people, or dry eye sufferers. But the feedback we're getting, this one lady, this is my favorite feedback that we got from it. She's had arthritis and a crick in her neck for the last 25 years and it's gone. Another gentleman had eczema, dry skin all over his face. And he's had it for the last 10 years. Nothing helped. Steroid creams, everything gone after 8 weeks. And so these toxins are causing more than you think. So eczema, dry skin, that's usually a sign of something toxic, inflammation inside your body. And so we're just decreasing that inflammation to heal your whole body.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, is this built for anyone and everyone, or is it just built for people in, older age, like you said, in their 60s? I mean, our listeners, I'm almost 100% sure, like a lot of our listeners, especially the newbies to the health and fitness realm, or even seasoned athletes, could probably benefit from your boot camp just to learn little tips and tricks. Because inflammation is a huge deal. Granted, we need inflammation in our body, but the type of inflammation that we get from, I know it for myself, when I eat like crap, especially when I was just out of town. And when I'm out of town, I eat like crap. I'm usually eating out, or there are times where I'm like, oh, I'm craving a green salad right now. It's the weirdest thing. I'm just like, all right, I need, like a good green salad, just greens. I don't want the dressing. I just want greens right now. And I think it's just my body telling me, hey, we need something good to eat. And I feel like crap. And boot camp essentially could probably help a lot of people fix what the diet industry or the fitness industry has been doing for a long time, which is selling us bullshit in terms of, protein supplements. I mean, let's go down the rabbit hole of supplements. Some supplements are good and sourced very well, but then you have the supplements that aren't. And, I've seen a lot of different tests done. What's your take on that in terms of the supplements and how we can look out for the lesser quality?
Yeah, great question. So we actually addressed that in the boot camp too. So the dry eye boot camp challenge is geared towards dry eye patients. But it's just like I said earlier, it's a boot camp to teach you how to decrease inflammation in your whole body. But you are going to have more eye specific things. So like I said, week 1 is all about eyelid hygiene. If you don't have problems with dry eye, you can ignore that whole section. But the rest of the boot camp is going to be not geared towards the eye. It's going to be geared more towards the body. So every week at the end of our lesson, we actually go over the supplement recommendation for that week. And so we start out with the most important supplement. We sell 2 supplements, by the way, but we don't even talk about those until the end of the boot camp. I don't think it's the most important supplement stack that you need for dry eye. My most important supplement for anybody is a greens powder. Greens are key to eye health. They're key to decreasing inflammation in your body. They're key from taking you from that cancer causing, inflammatory causing state that your body is usually in to that cancer fighting, decreasing inflammation state that you should be in. And that's all with greens. So we recommend a couple greens powders in week 1 that we can just add to our smoothie, or you can just mix it with water and drink it. As far as making sure that that's organic, and then just look up the company before you buy from them. There's a couple here in the States that I recommend, and that's because I know the companies personally. And I know the values behind their company, and I know where they source their stuff from. And that's why we use them.
You could definitely name drop. Like, that's totally cool, by the way.
So we use 3 actually. So there's Mighty Maca from Dr. Quebeca. We recommend them just because, again, our demographics are very aligned, the 60-year-old female market. But Nested Naturals, they're good friends of mine. They have a great greens powder. And then finally, Amazing Grass is another organic greens powder that's really good. So those are the 3 that we recommend. Week 2, we talk about a multivitamin. So this is what you were talking about. There's just so much crap out there. And you pretty much are wasting money on a multivitamin if you're going to buy the $8 a month supplement, little hardened pill pack thing, and you take it and it just pretty much goes right through you. It doesn't really absorb. We actually recommend a supplement by a company called Healthy Cell, and they're doing research in nanotechnology with vitamins, and so better absorption. And so they do studies at the University of Miami to show that their vitamin has better absorption. It's actually a gel. And so you can just eat it like you would any other gel, or you can put it in a smoothie or something like that. And so just really making sure that the vitamin you're taking is being absorbed properly. All you got to do is look at the company and see if they've done any clinical research or anything like that. And so that's kind of number 1 and number 2. And then we just talk about smaller vitamins from there. So the omega-3 fish oil, that's one of the supplements that we have. That's going to help decrease inflammation in your entire body as well, because healthier oils will decrease inflammation in your body. It's just the science proves that. Now, we source our omega-3s from sustainable fishing practices. Iceland is one of the only countries that has that sustainable fishing practice. And so we get our fish right around Iceland, and that's where it's processed. And then it gets put into the soft gel form here in the US. That's where we get our fish oil from. So fish oil is another good opportunity for you. If you don't eat meat, then you can always try like a ground up flaxseed. You just have to take a little bit more of that to get the same benefits. But then there's like avocados are really healthy for you as well. So we just give you tips throughout of all the supplements that you could be taking, your supplement stack, and then break it down from there. Another good one is probiotic. So making sure you're taking a high quality probiotic is going to help. And the probiotic should have prebiotics and probiotics to really help with your digestion. Those are kind of like the main 4 that we talk about, but we do talk about like vitamin D and some other smaller supplements like lutein. You can get all that stuff naturally from food. Vitamin D you can get from the sun. Unfortunately, not a lot of people have sun all the time. And so a supplement's usually required, especially because we work indoors now.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah, no, it does. And especially, I mean, everyone thinks Kuwait. I mean, we have it's like 124 degrees in the middle of summer here. So you think Kuwait, oh, sun, you're not going to be vitamin D deficient. And I could have sworn I was vitamin D deficient at one point last year because I work in a building all day. You know, I'm working inside, I'm working indoors. And literally, I just started supplementing a little bit with vitamin D, and it made a world of difference in terms of my state of mind and, you know, just how I was walking around and everything. I felt great. after it. But what else is involved in this boot camp? I mean, now I'm definitely intrigued. I mean, where else does this go? In terms of the boot camp, it sounds like, because we always want to benefit our listeners. And something like this, I think, would benefit all of our listeners greatly, especially because when you do back things up with science and you're backing up by saying, look, we want to source things from the right source, that's really important. And here, unfortunately, we don't have that yet. We haven't gotten to that level. We're getting there. I mean, we're a lot more educated than we were, say, 10 years ago. I'd say we're probably about 5 or 6 years behind you guys when it comes to stuff like that. So what else is involved in this?
Well, I got to think now. I think we've gone through most of the nitty gritty. Fertilizers, and we talk about fertilizers a lot, and organic versus, GMOs. That's kind of part of the boot camp. That's actually my favorite week. It's actually an hour-long presentation that we did. Fertilizers and pesticides were something that was brought in the 80s, late 70s, early 80s. And it's something that has become such commonplace now. And it's sad because you're putting stuff on our crops that is meant to kill bugs. And if you put it in high enough doses, it's going to kill humans too. And so slowly it is killing us.
What is it? The Monsanto case? Monsanto case. The guy just won it. And it's right there. And we've done so much damage to the soil. I mean, what's your take on that? Because I know, in my opinion, I think we've definitely destroyed the earth.
So the example I give in my book is there's a lake. I can never remember the name of the lake, but it's by my house. It's like called Grand Lake St. Mary. Yeah, I got it. There we go. Grand Lake St. Mary is a huge, beautiful lake, and it's in Ohio. And they built communities around this lake. So there's like different towns on each side of the lake. Like it's a huge lake. And they even built communities with canals for this lake. So like think of a subdivision that has streets and everything. Well, instead of the streets, they have boat canals. And so you can literally drive your boat from your house out into the lake, into the main body. Well, it's in the middle of nowhere in Ohio, and it's surrounded by farmland. That lake is you're no longer able to swim on it anymore because of the runoff from all the pesticides and the fertilizers from the farms, because it's completely destroyed the lake. All the fish are dying, and they have now a blue algae population problem. So blue algae sucks all the oxygen out of the water and kills all the livestock that's in the water, which then creates this toxic water. And so now there's this beautiful lake with communities built on it, and nobody can get in the water. And that should tell you something. That's how toxic the substances that we're dealing with are. And so when you're choosing between that organic banana that's 69 cents a pound versus the non-organic banana that's 49 cents a pound, cancer, no cancer. Cancer, no cancer.
True.
That's all you're choosing right there. So always choose organic, always choose non-GMO if possible. And it's going to cut your doctor bills because you're not going to be sick as often. You're not going to have as much inflammation. And so Monsanto is just a monster. I don't want to say too much because they're probably listening as we're live right now.
I know, right?
But, you got to choose organic whenever possible. And if you're going to eat corn or soybeans, you have to make sure that it's non-GMO and organic, because Monsanto produces pretty much 90% of the corn and soybeans out there, and it's GMO. And the GMOs, genetically modified organisms, they don't alter the organism to make it more nutritious. They alter the organism to make it stand tough weather, bugs, everything. And so it's not made to help you out. It's made to help stave off whatever, or to keep off whatever's trying to attack it. And so we talk about that for a full week, and just try to switch. Your challenge that week is just to switch to all organic and see if you can afford it. Because a lot of people say they can't afford it, but they've never tried it. And my wife and I, consciously made the effort. One time we're just like, we're going to buy everything organic from here on out, and we're going to see how much that raises our grocery budget. And it did, of course, but you'll make up for it because you'll shift where you're spending your money. Because how important is it for you to feel good and to be healthy and to prevent cancer in the future? And it's hard because that's, further out there, preventing cancer. But in 20 years, when you get cancer diagnosis, you're going to wish that you made all those decisions 20 years ago. And so I wish none of your listeners get that. But the fact of the matter is, most of us will have cancer eventually.
Wow. That kind of ruined my day right there. Most of us will get cancer eventually. That kind of.
Well, I'll take it a step further. I was listening to a podcast today, actually.
Yeah, I'll take a
And
pass, man. I'm having a good enough day today. I'm just joking. Go ahead, dude.
and the first thing she said is that statistically speaking, 100% of you will die. And I was like, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And so it was all about like, what are you going to do with your life today to make it worthwhile? Are you going to worry? Are you going to watch the news? Or are you going to go have fun? Are you going to produce more value in this world? And you're never going to have another today. So why not just create more value? Because you never know when you're going to die, and all of us will die eventually.
Yeah.
And it was just funny because that's how she started it. Statistically speaking, you guys are all going to die. And it was just like, okay, you got my attention.
That's true. That would get anyone's attention at that point. And I think you brought up a good point. I mean, and that's the point of our podcast is we want to add value to people here in Kuwait. We have experts here and, bringing in experts from abroad to the mic just so people can learn a little bit more and just educate. And I think them joining your boot camp. Now, how much is that? Is there a cost on that? Is it free? I mean, what access do they have to you?
We were charging for it, but we're not charging for it anymore. We're not releasing it anytime soon. It will probably be within the next couple months though. So I don't know, maybe by the time this is released, we might be opening it. You can actually go sign up for the 7-day one. We have a shortened version of it. It's at dryeyebootcampchallenge.com. You can also get on our email list as well. Our book covers everything we went over, and you can get the book for free, the PDF version of it, at dryeyebook.com. That's DRYEYE book.com. And that will put you on our email list. And so when we go to launch the Dry Eye Bootcamp Challenge again, the full version of it, I think we're planning on May or June. And so I don't know when this will be released, but if it's May or June, come on over. And when we do release it next, we decided we're going to go free with it because we do want to get it out to more people. And it's fun to see the results of it. And yeah, head to either dryeyebook.com or dryeyebootcampchallenge.com. You'll get on our email list, and then you'll get an email when we release it next, and then make sure you join it. We have a private Facebook group that, we interact in, and then all the lessons are right on our blog. And so you'll be able to watch it right there and kind of take action. It is more US based. So like the links inside the blog are going to go to like Amazon.com, but that doesn't mean you can't find it locally or find something similar locally. We've had people all around the world take this.
That's awesome. Now, what's the commitment to it? I mean, is it something that you guys schedule, like, a daily meeting or whatever, or is it stuff that you've uploaded on there so that someone can move at their own pace? I think that's a question over here because, I mean, obviously we have a time difference. It's 10 o'clock in the morning for you right now, or?
We're approaching noon.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. So 11 o'clock, we're approaching 9 p.m. So there's a 9-hour difference. Yeah. So, I mean, is it move at your own pace or how does that work?
Yeah, so you get an email every Sunday, and that Sunday email has your challenge of the week. The challenge of the week, it will send you over to a blog post on our blog. It's password protected, but it might not be next time we release it. And you'll watch a video. The video can be anywhere from 20 minutes to 1 hour. Usually they're around 20 to 30 minutes. There's one that's 1 hour. And then it also has kind of everything we talk about in the video down below it. So you can read it as well, or you can watch it on video. And then it has a printable supplement to it as well. So you click the printable supplement, and not like a supplement like vitamin, but like a 1-page sheet of your action item for the week. And that 1-page sheet will give you everything you need to know for that action item of that week. And so you'll do that for 8 weeks. And then we'll do the 9th week is more of an advanced version. If you still are having symptoms of disease, we take your diet to the next level. And then we also talk about intermittent fasting as well. And so that's kind of for more advanced people that our diet is very basic. It's very easy to follow. Then the 9th week takes it up a whole new level. And so ours is more of a plant-rich diet. We just work on replacing things and not taking away too much because that's the easiest way to kind of lead to healthier lifestyle choices. But week 9 and the advanced stuff is all about taking away everything, but a limited amount of foods. And so that's for people that have really extreme disease. So like extreme dry eye or extreme diabetes or extreme high blood pressure. And so, of course, we always recommend working with your physician whenever you're going through an extreme diet change. But we just like to give you the tools that are out there to let you know about diet and how that affects everything with your disease state.
Wow, man, that's awesome. I really appreciate you coming on here and dropping these knowledge bombs and introducing everybody to your boot camp. I hope a lot of our listeners sign up with you the next time you roll it out, because I think anyone would benefit from this. Hell, I might even register because I think I would benefit from this, because there's a lot that I know and there's a lot that we all know. Yep. But it's when you do something that's regimented into a practice, that's when you kind of practice it a little bit more. And I mean, have you seen that more from, the people that register with you? Are they all walks, or is it, do you have people that know their health and fitness and wellness background, and you have people that don't know anything? I mean, I'm sure you have both sides of the spectrum. How have you seen that, like, in terms of a mix?
Yeah, so it's been about a 50-50 mix. We have some people that are really, really healthy. And, the next steps on top of them is taking things like a food inflammatory test, or actually getting blood work done and starting to really figure out what's causing your problem. And so the cause is usually inflammation for 95% of people, but there is that 5% of people that have tried everything, but they're still having problems. So that's when we start exploring like toxic mold exposure, food inflammatory tests, because even if you're eating spinach, it might not be healthy for you. And so we do a food inflammatory test to just test for that. And there's a whole another well that you can dig down. But most of the time, 95% of disease is caused from inflammation. So therefore, you can conquer the inflammation and then kind of solve the disease as well.
Wow, man. Thank you for coming on here. I really appreciate it. Yeah. It was great. I'd love to have you back on here. Definitely, hopefully Meg can join in, because she would have had a field day with this conversation. Unfortunately, she couldn't make it today. So I'd love to bring you back on at some point, especially when you launch, or right before the launch, if possible, to bring you back on. I'll try and launch this before that. And then if you could come on and talk a little bit about the boot camp, what's going to roll out, and just give our listeners a little bit more of an idea of how it's going to take place, I think that'd be awesome, man. If you'd be willing to do so. So thank you for your time.
Yeah, we'd appreciate that.
Thank you for your time. Really appreciate it. And, we really appreciate it from out here in Kuwait, man.
All right. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed it, please head over to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. You can also find us on Instagram at The Project Kuwait. Thank you, and join us next time.